Can I get a pen? Throw it. Thank you. My handball skills come in handy now. Are we ready? So this is one of the, excuse me? Everything good in the back? Okay. So in the previous conferences, we also had like a panel discussion like this. It went really well. So people really found it entertaining and useful to kind of spice up and change things up from the typical presentational format. So we hope you will enjoy the discussion today. As you will be able to see on the screen, the topic for today and the speakers is a devs and AI, friends or foes. So we'll try to demystify some of the AI questions you might be wondering. We have three amazing panelists. First, we have Luka Ancic, a machine learning consultant in Jobberty. Luka has been working in the field of machine learning and artificial intelligence for the last 6 years. During his career, he had the opportunity to work with clients around the world through projects to solve problems for millions of users using these technologies. He has been recognized as one of the 150 machine learning experts by the Google Developer Group, and currently works as a data strategy and machine learning consultant with Jobberty, and is completing a PhD in applied artificial intelligence. So someone who does have the data and has been working in AI for a few years now. Mohamed Arslan, staff software engineer at NVIDIA Technologies, has been working in different roles: senior IT developer, IT consultant, tech lead, and architect. Vast experience on front-end, back-end, and agile development. Currently working at NVIDIA as big data architect in a digital marketing industry, and previously worked in fintech and media industry. He has his own blog, contributes to open source projects, and has contributed to the book React.js by Example. As a hobby, he explores new technologies and technologies to solve real-world problems and present in conferences. So he is our guest speaker here at the conference. And Sergej Jovanovic, senior machine learning engineer at Loka. He's working on development and implementation of machine learning solutions in different industries, with primary focus on cloud deployment solutions. And he has been working in a variety of industries, including banking, finance, healthcare, etc. He is interested in deep learning, reinforcing learning, and computer vision. Also, he is the member of Serbian AI Society. So you probably all know me from yesterday. I'm the founder of Product Hive and MotionOps, and also the founding member of CODEstantine 7 years ago. I'm not an expert in AI, nor am I trying to be, but I'll try to lead the discussion in a way that we all, and even the people that are not that involved or don't understand like deep and high, deep concepts of AI can understand and find this discussion useful. So just kind of to start things off, elaborate on your quick question, like, is AI a friend or foe of a developer? That's the toughest question, I know.
Really depends on the job. I would say that right now it is kind of a mixed, because we are in a really like strange area where everybody's trying to define like how we're going to use it in the future. But I'd say that right now, because of the not so advanced technologies, I would say it's a friend. I'm leaning towards that. I hope it's going to stay that way. I say that we have decent amount of tools that we can use to help us in the job. For example, Copilot, that maybe most of you tried to some degree.
Cool. Do you guys have? What's your view on this?
Yeah, I agree with the same. It's actually both, and I mean, it really depends. And I mean, AI is like hot topic, but I mean, it doesn't mean that, it's really going to take over everything. I mean, it's just, complementing and basically increasing the productivity what you do. So I mean, I see like, like a both at this point. Yeah.
I would like to have optimistic view on this and say it's a friend, but in order for that to be a friend, we need to be fully aware of all the aspects, all the things that go with that when using it, and we basically need to have full control over that and to understand that before we are using that. So if we set up things like that, I think it can be our friend.
So, Srdjan, how is AI currently being used in software development in general, and what are the benefits and challenges of incorporating AI into the development process?
So if you ask me how AI is used as a tool in software development, there are like different ways how we can use that. Like in coding, it can be our assistant with generating suggestions or fixing our bugs, restructuring code, and so on. Then, like in testing, it can behave as an agent that can simulate human behavior, and that way we can like have a bot that is 24 hours testing our solution instead of having people do that. So that makes things more easier. I guess there are also some improvements in the field of project management and all those tools that can get some specific suggestions, recommendations from AI that can like improve and speed up the work.
Yeah, I'd like to dig deeper on the testing scenario. I think that's one aspect that's often overlooked. So are there already solutions that like we could go out and just subscribe and have an AI automated testing of our solution at this point in time?
I don't have like a clear picture of all the AI tools that we have in testing, but I guess there are some of them that can have with the minimal setup that you can like produce behavior that you want from your end users, and in that way like test your application. These are also sometimes used as a plugins or some just add-ons on the existing tools that you usually use, and I think this is used a lot.
Cool, thank you. Mohammed, so some developers fear that AI will eventually replace them. Do you think that it's a valid fear or not?
Not really. I mean, there is AI is, helping you to increase the productivity, right? So it's basically gives you a better tooling to work more effectively. And AI is nothing, new. It has been there for a while, and it has been used pretty extensively in the past, 20 years in the different products, right? You have seen like a small cartoon in the Word documents, right? That's what like an AI agent as well, right? So, I mean, AI itself is not really something. I mean, it depends on, how big the data basically is trained on and what it can help you on. And on the other hand, I mean, developers are the one who will going to create this data, right? Developers are the one who will going to, add this to the community, right? So AI itself doesn't know that if there is a new version of, if the Python new version comes in, what's in it, right? Someone has to, write that document, and then AI is actually going to pick up that and, train it and then suggest it, right? And on the other hand, it's also, there is no innovation if we depended on AI, right? So there's a very limited things, right? So it depends on the data that's basically trained on. And I mean, if you want to see the innovation part, then human is definitely there, and human is always be there. And I actually see, like in the next 5 years, perhaps it will going to be even more jobs generated in the computer science area as a developers, because I mean, even if the AI is growing, but someone has to, work on most effective, AI algorithms and as well as, training models, right? So there is no fear, I would say. I mean, there is a even bright future.
Cool.
I would just add on this. I'd say that people who are not improving themselves and learning new skills should be fearing for their jobs, because like as any technology, it's pushing us to the limits of our current knowledge and basically allowing us to learn new skills that it brought. And this is happening right now. It's like the fearing aspect of this is happening really fast. Like me, who is in the area, I can't be up to date every day with every single innovation that is happening around the world. And if you're in any other, like for example, front-end development, a couple of years ago, you needed to learn some skills that are currently like available in the normal part of the job. And right now, like for example, all the things that are currently doing, like a couple of days ago, Meta released a great computer vision algorithm that is allowed to segment and generate a lot of designs. If you like, that's currently not usable, but that is soon to be usable by our crowd extensively. And I think that people should be like just updated what's currently happening and start learning new things. So obviously that's going to be more and more prominent in the future. And to like bring another point that they mentioned is AI is not creative yet. I don't know, but I wouldn't rely on AI to be creative. That's something for humans to do. And as Mohammed said, like AI is trained on data, and it's limited by the amount of data that it trained. So it will help us be really fast in certain development aspects and stuff like that. But to generate new ideas and stuff like that, humans will do that. So that's human touch that will add value to that.
That's an interesting point. Like the model is good and is dependent on the data that you actually put into it. So we actually now have a movement of like even Elon Musk and like the OpenAI pushing to actually stop and put the training of the models on pause. Like that sounds, is that concerning? And like, why do they actually why are they pushing for that? Isn't like the advance of the models and trainings and everything a good thing? So what's their reasoning to actually put it on pause?
So there is always two sides of every story, but like for the, let's say Elon Musk, because he's the most vocal about this, you need to look at it from the economics perspective. Like he was one of the biggest investors in OpenAI, and he pulled out just before Microsoft poured the money in. So obviously he's against that because like he missed the opportunity. And right now on the other side, while he's speaking about stopping the training of current like GPT-4 or whatever is behind right now, he's preparing his own company as a rebuttal of the whole OpenAI situation. So obviously if they stop, he will be able to catch up to some degree, obviously. So that's the other aspect of that story, you know. Is that possible? I don't know. Like, I don't think so, and that's not going to prevent any major changes if we stop for 6 months.
And Serjan, how do you see like the position of ChatGPT versus the other big players who are also in this market, like Google and Amazon, who have all been working on their own alternatives, and like there are even stories like they're now kind of pushing the ChatGPT and using it to train their own data and their own models and extracting data from it while it's still fairly open. Like, how do you see this competition between the options, and who do you see as the biggest challenger to Microsoft and OpenAI at this point?
Yeah, I spoke also with Luca before this webinar. So ChatGPT is something that actually surprised all of them, I think. We didn't expect to have such powerful models with such accurate results. I'm not saying it always gives accurate results, but basically a lot of people are amazed how it works. And then, so this started this race with large language models, and big players realized that the one who has the strongest, the best model will probably lead in this race. So this maybe catched Google, Amazon, and others a little bit unprepared. So they are trying now to like speed up their process. About this pause for 6 months, if you ask me, I don't like these suggestions, like to stop something that is science. If you cannot stop science experiments, I mean, it's not natural, something like that. And I'm not sure what kind of politics is behind that. I don't want to discuss about that, but
and I would like to add something here. I mean, this is a very healthy competition, I would say, and this will make them even more creative, right? Because AI is not just to scrap the internet. AI is always also helps you to build nice, for example, web pages, right? So if you want to build a web page, I see a very nice use case where you actually upload a paper prototype and it's basically design a page for you. That something is very nice, right? And that is where actually add more creativity than basically just scrapping the data that is available on the internet, right? Because that enables actually to integrate it with other tools as well, right? So everyone can actually contribute, right? So all the the big players, for example, like the language or platform owners or cloud providers, right? So everything, like for example, I want to create a data pipeline on Amazon that can process like 1 billion events an hour. Create an architecture for me, right? So that's something pretty cool, right? So these things are still on the way, I would say, and this is something that basically will actually make them differentiator in the market.
And when it comes to that, like there's like a new line of jobs being created now, which is actually prompt maker. So right now, the output, the quality of the output actually is dependent on the quality of the inputs you provide. It's similar case to how developers solve their problems that they encounter, like first go into Google and type to see which search results you will get for the error. And like there are people that know how to search and people that can spend hours not being able to find which somebody else just types slightly different thing and gets it on the first page, first answer. So like understanding the quality of inputs that you put into that is super important. And when it comes to like innovation, like I think that's an interesting angle that you guys mentioned. Like the AI isn't an innovative thing. It's basically in essence like a statistical, closest to a statistical model if we were to like really dumb it down, and it like looks what it has seen and tries to repeat. And of course, so what tools and how can we actually stimulate the innovation, and is it gonna be ever possible to like have AI like randomize stuff to come up with innovation and then kind of have some way of filtering through that to actually keep only those that make sense? This is a little bit maybe on the edge question, but like anybody has an opinion on this?
I do have an opinion. I don't know if it's a good opinion.
Okay, go ahead.
But
I'll take that.
So I had a really interesting conversation like a couple of days ago where I said that, for example, for the code generation aspect, like it can debug like synthetically is a syntax correct or not. But like 2-3 days ago, some guy who created AutoGPT created and connected AutoGPT to IDE, like Visual Code. And the AutoGPT was able to generate the code, debug itself, and basically produce the cyclic code until it reached the point where it was fine. Mm-hmm. And it was able to generate something that was working. It was interesting, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But in that sense, like if you connect those kinds of model to something that is outsourced, it can create some new innovative things, whatever we mean by innovation. But if we just dumb it down and see what is the current architecture of the models, the way that those are trained and those are working, it won't be able to generate something like completely new. It will be able to generate what is seen into those degrees. And
do you see like a new area in AI, which is like
they're
AI innovations?
Yes, they're working on different models, like spike networks, for example. Those are not ready for production, and those, I don't know when will they be, but they're not really useful yet. So those kind of architecture where they basically can sample from other distributions are able to generate something new. And those are really, really high, edge right now. So yes, we will definitely need to change the way that we are training the networks so we can create something new, innovative from those.
And what are some skills that developers need to develop in order to effectively work alongside AI?
Yes, this skill of searching what you need for solving some bug, error, and so this is also present even before this prompt engineering. But and this was very sophisticated skills that good developers would have, and it's very appreciated. Now with these models, basically you can very easily find what you need, and if you are very specific about your input, you will get more specific output. I think prompt engineering will be one of the requirements that we'll see in jobs in future, how good someone is in that, and also in other tools that help you during the work, I don't know, Copilot AI or something like that. And I expect to see them as well in the list of requirements for a software engineer role in future.
Cool. Mohammed, so right now we're seeing all these kind of different tools popping up. Seems like it's the next crypto AI. I mean, AI was considered to be like one of the top hype things for the future, like for the last decade. I remember I was in Cebit like over 10 years ago, and they were saying like AI is the next big, like more than 10 years. And there was nothing for like 9.5 years. And now we have, in the last 3 months, literally, like this whole boom and explosion. And actually an innovation which is good and like good results. Like when you compare it to crypto, like still like 5 years after the crypto boom, like there are still very limited quality solutions out there. Like you can probably count them. I'm not the crypto expert, but like from what I've seen and stuff I've seen, it looks pretty basic for a lot of different stuff. Of course, doesn't mean in general, but like in terms of how much money was poured into it, how long it took, and like everything that's poured in, it seems like the innovation there is fairly slow. Probably I mean, I cannot say crypto is more complex than AI. So like, how do we compare these two, and how do we explain this AI frenzy over the last 2-3 months, and just the pure volume of solutions which actually work properly?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the AI, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, it's not new, right? It has been there. I mean, quite a lot of big players already been using it for different purposes, doing the forecasting, recommendation engines, and few other things, right? And they actually don't know they were doing AI. They probably know now, right? Yep. So, and then, I mean, of course, the ChatGPT, the biggest challenge that they have solved is actually, train the big data set, right? So, and the accuracy of the data that you get it from there. And if we compare it with others, I mean, with crypto and all that, I mean, that's a awesome technology, right? And it has been, booming still. But with AI, I mean, I feel like, everyone has to contribute in this, kind of AI to work, because if there will be no new data sets available, then perhaps ChatGPT will be dead, right? Because, I mean, if you don't get the right results in 1 year, then nobody will start using it, right? So it's still like highly dependent on the different, players in the market to actually generate the data, right? And then, I mean, as I said, you know, everyone in the like a platform owners, you know, cloud providers, you know, language providers, everyone has to contribute in this one to actually get the best and accurate results. Otherwise, I mean, it would become like a, you know, dumb agent, to be honest. Yeah.
Cool, thanks.
Sorry, I would add on this frenzy recently, like the algorithm that is under the hood of ChatGPT is not new. Like we had it for several years now. The data is also there, like it was present from 2021. We know that, but it's public information. However, the biggest like difference between, like, for example, the blockchain, why it's not there yet, or like crypto, is the interface. Like the interface they provided, which is a chat, everybody here uses to some degree. Like we have many chat applications that we are using day to day. Even messages now, like our messaging apps on iPhone or whatever, is basically in the chat version. So you have that interface that everybody's familiar with. And obviously, like if you deliver that value through that interface, that's basically what is the biggest innovation here. And from the crypto, like if I try to explain to my mom, I can't. I tried. Believe me, I tried many times. I can't. Because like that is not user-friendly yet, since you have so many stuff to set up to your local computer if you want to basically just buy something. And it's still not clear to you where that money goes. And for ChatGPT, like, it's kind of a magic, like for most users. Like I type something, it generates, but most people imagine that some rule-based algorithm is behind it.
Can we go like one layer deeper in explaining how it actually works? Because most of the people are familiar just with the interface of ChatGPT, but actually the same algorithm and same model can also like be used to create all different types of things. So like photos, audio. So like, can you explain how is that even possible?
Yeah, so the new version, like GPT-4, they say, oh, well, we'll still not know how, like, what is the current architecture because it's not publicly released yet. I don't know, I hope. They say it's a multi-model, which basically means that they have multiple versions or multiple inputs, different sources like audio, video, text. We are currently using text only, and images. They say that in two weeks from now, they will release the version of ChatGPT with the images as well, where we can upload an image and we will get something. And we have that model also, like it's a publicly available, which is called Clip or DALL-E. Like for most people, DALL-E is that version. And yeah, behind, I don't know, do you want to go deeper on how actually it works, or?
If you think we can do it in like a couple of short sentences just to differentiate between the two. Okay. If you think it's too deep of a rabbit hole, we don't have to go there.
It's basically what it does, like it chunks down your prompt to different tokens, like just for you, imagine that each token is a word, like we don't have to go deeper into that. And whenever you basically generate one word, it goes and sample, like for example, for the text, what is the language? Let's say it's English. In English, you have 160,000 unique words. And let's say it's a T-H-E, it's the first word, and then basically gets this probability, what is the most likely word to come next. It's a car. And the car is, and so on. So after each word, it basically samples what is the most likely to come next. And because it's so many different versions of text, like basically the whole internet, it creates those transitional probabilities to what comes next. And that's why it works really well.
So Sergeant, can you touch on maybe like this kind of fear of everything kind of converging into a similar thing in the end because of the way how the model works and like the statistical background behind it? Like, is that like something that's a potential threat to the model, like after a certain time, or like there's still enough variations and innovation to keep everything to have enough of the new when the pure volume of that data comes in? Will it converge to a single thing and like in most of the cases, or that is not a problem?
You train your model on one snapshot of data, then you can like update your model constantly as new data is coming. And then I would say this model is deterministic with the same version for the same input, and it will always should give you the same output. But if you add on that like your previous searches, if you so if you are talking with ChatGPT and you enter some input, then you get some output. Then you add another input, it will probably give you some different output. Even if you enter the same input, because now it has some history and the context. In that sense, this model is able to adapt to the new data and constantly update itself. It cannot you cannot just train that and always get the same thing if you continue training that with the new data. So probably the outputs will differ.
But what if, for example, like multiple people ask basically the same question, exactly the same question, and it prints out, let's say, and they use it as a blog post. And then you have like 10 people or 100 people or 1,000 people using the same wording for a blog post. And then that comes back into an input of the model for like the next month. And then it learns that, okay, this is now true. And that it then becomes into 1 million of those, and it kind of dumbs itself down.
Yes.
Because the current model doesn't have its own kind of data plugged back in.
Yes, that's right. This model, since it's updating constantly, and this is statistical model, so that means that the distribution of your data, as it changes, also the model will change its weights. If you get enormous amount of this kind of data that you mentioned, then probably this will definitely affect in some way output. There is this example, the latest example from the Samsung team. I think some data leaked from like source code, notes from the meetings and so on. And basically this went into the model, and now ChatGPT knows about this, and if you enter some prompt that is about this kind of things, maybe it will give you Samsung's data basically as output. So we need to be cautious about this, what we are entering, and also when we are using, now people basically use that, but maybe they are not fully aware of what are the consequences if in terms of data privacy and so on, especially for people that work in companies, and it can be very dangerous to share some sensitive data in ChatGPT.
So even companies until now have like Google, etc., they have been tracking us, but sort of officially with anonymized data. Like in this case, you don't have the anonymity. If you actually post something with a name and something, then it's there basically no control, which brings us to the next question, like what are some ethical considerations that we have to have in mind when we're working with AI?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is the biasness, right? So we don't know if the data is correct or not, right? It's just come from the random sources, right? So you need to, that's like an ethical thing, whatever you look at or whatever you do, just make sure this is something that, you know, is correct. And then on the other hand, we had a talk in the morning from Bosch regarding, you know, the supply chain optimization. I mean, there is always a biasness, right? It's not 100% correct, right? And if the things is not 100% correct, so as a programmer or an engineer, we cannot really 100% rely on that, right? So that's something that they have to, you know, really, like the developers should have to look into the biasness of that, and then as well as, I mean, just make sure, you know, what they're actually looking for, right? And I mean, because, I mean, you can get like, I mean, with ChatGPT even, you can actually get different results if you ask the same question, because it has your history, it knows that, you know, and there is like hundreds of different blogs written with the same kind of topic, or thousands of, or even millions, right? It depends on the topic, right? So that's also something that's like ethically is very important. And accountability is as well as very, very important. If you are, you know, picking up something that is, you know, you are accountable for that, right? So yeah, I mean, before sharing any information, I mean, it's very, very, very needs to be very, you know, verified. from the developer side. And I mean, I read a lot of posts about, where the students are doing their assignments with ChatGPT now, right? And there was like one of my previous teacher posted on Facebook that, how he can detect it, right? It's really hard. So these also like ethical things that has to be, addressed somehow. I don't know how, but has to be somehow like, if this is like the 100% text pickup from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that will come, I believe, later on.
And how do we actually, do we need regulation? And how do we regulate it? Like there's also been these different, like, is it sexist? Is it has a certain personality or a certain opinion? Is it opinionated in some way so that it becomes racist or whatever? So like, do we regulate that? How, who determines that?
Really difficult question. This is not a new problem. Like we had that problem and we are still battling that. Not really, there are no really solutions out there. OpenAI, like, okay, so basically we are talking about now open source, a lot of open source models that are open, not only openly distributing the model, but the data also. The benefit of having everything under a centralized entity like OpenAI, they have their brand to put on the line as well. So there are a lot of regulations from their end. I'm not saying they're right people to perform those regulations. I'm just saying they're regulating because of their brand. There are like a lot of EU regulations. For example, Serbia has the team of establishing some regulations in place, like for startups and companies trying to involve AI to some degree. Are they good? I don't know. In Serbia, they're just suggestions. In the EU, they're actually regulations that are recognized by law, so you need to follow them. And you can go into both.
Do you think that they actually follow them?
Yeah, like companies should, because like whenever.
Not if they should. Do you think that there's like an effective way to tell a model, like the whole model, like if the person is from Ireland, just neglect any personal data that you encounter?
So.
How do you limit that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there is not really the way to check every single edge case. But for example, for big companies, they should, like, there is one entity in Oxford called the Future of Humanity Institute that has one of the researchers to every single big company that is working on these big scale, large models that are not only language models, but computer vision as well. And whenever you have a lot to put on the line in sense of users, data and stuff like that, they have to be concerned. So yeah, there are some things in place. We are going to the right direction, and it can go really, we are on a slippery slope like right now, because everybody is in fear of those like politicians level because they are not educated. So they can go into really extreme and regulate everything, so there is no innovation whatsoever. And they can basically stay still as we currently are and have nothing in place. So.
Cool. So what would you suggest as like if someone was new to AI and would like to start learning about it and get into the field, what is like your top 1 or 2 resources where they should go and read more?
Yeah, I think, they should start with very small. Just don't think about a big thing. Just like learn it with bit and pieces. There's a lot of, resources out there, how you can write a very simple basic model. Try with, with the Jupyter Notebook, with Python. Just, they have a bunch of really great, libraries available. This, Sign, Learn, and as well as few others. So. Just look into that, try some data science yourself inside the Jupyter Notebook. Don't go for a big data set, just start with small and try to understand it, how it actually works. So, if you're a programmer with few years of experience, learning just the data science or a little AI on top of that is actually not a big thing. It's very like few lines of code. But on the other hand, you need to know how it works, right? And the other thing that I think is very, very important is actually the mathematics and the statistical skills. You need to know how these mathematical principles actually works together. For example, this like a statistical things, regression, and find the normal distributions. So that's basically is actually the differentiator skills, I would say, to make you as a good data scientist or a good AI person.
So,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but like we already have like most of the main algorithms have already been developed. So
Yes.
like, and basically more or less the same algorithms are used by everyone as they're open source. Like, does it even make sense to go into kind of developing our own thing, or like at this point it doesn't even make sense because the teams of PhD scientists working just on that and optimizing that have already worked, and like should we just try how to apply what's already there, or do you think that there's still like a lot of room where innovation can happen in that field and kind of make an edge in a kind of business?
No, I think
sense?
as a starter, you don't even need to think about that to rebuild the wheel. I mean, just try the algorithm and try the library, and then if something that if you get expert to that one, at that point you can actually see if there is a room for optimization or improvement in the existing libraries, right, or in existing algorithms, right. So it's like it comes with experience. Right, so it's nothing really, you can come as an OBI and, say that, you will going to rewrite, this whole algorithm that is basically developed in this library in Python, right? So that's not the way you should go for. I think start with small, develop the mathematics and, statistical skills. And then, there's a bunch of really good, big data or, AI books available even. If you want to go to deep dive, like statistical analysis in Python, it's really good book. So, there is, So, just to not reinvent the wheel, just learn first and then think about that if there is room for improvement.
It's basically we have already mentioned everything, but I just want to add another thing. Besides all this, also important thing when it's about machine learning, AI, and so on, it's data that you use for training. So always try to understand your data first, and then try to like clean it, like to fully prepare for for your models, and then integrate with the model. Because in most cases, accuracies that you get to the end or some strong performance, it depends a lot, not just on the model, but on the data. So the combination of these two, I would suggest.
And one final thing from my end, and then we'll have some time for a couple of questions from the audience. What will be your number one tool which is currently there that you found mind-blowing, that kind of uses AI and that you would kind of motivate others to go and check out just to see what's possible?
I would say Copilot AI is a great tool, but I wouldn't
Can you
suggest
repeat, sorry?
Copilot AI.
Copilot.
Copilot.
And
Okay.
I wouldn't suggest that. I would suggest that for people with more years of experience. But for the people that are just starting their career, I would suggest them to focus on the pure language. If it's Python, then work in Python, and don't try to use some additional skills, additional tools that will boost your performance. Because at that stage of career, it's very important for you to understand what you're actually coding. And
just to clarify, Copilot is an AI code generator inside your IDE, whatever you
That's
coding,
right,
he can
yes.
kind of auto-complete your code.
Exactly.
yes, that's it.
Yep. So I think, go hand in hand. Just don't look into the tools. I think it's better to actually build their own skills, right? So there is a, nowadays, in the last few months, I have seen so many, chat GPT based tools available. For example, the terminals, where you can actually write the command that you are looking for and, basically add it into your terminal, right? And they are good to increase the productivity, But on the other hand, I mean, if you really want to jump into and learn it, then just, try the plain Python. That's kind of my, Python, why I'm saying that, because it has a pretty nice libraries available already. And it makes it easy to actually, read almost all type of data formats as well. And there is a, parallel computing available as well if you want to run a really big data set. So that's also there. And yeah, that's what's mine.
Anything you want to?
I would just agree.
Cool. So before we wrap up, there's a time for a couple of questions from the audience. So anybody wants to ask a question? Can we get the mic?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for this interesting discussion and sharing your views. My name is Milan. I'm a front-end developer at Merkle. I actually had an idea, as this hall that we're in is a theater. Maybe we could do a little role play. But don't worry, you're still artificial intelligence and machine learning specialists, but only with the black hat this time. So we know that every technology in advancement in the past, with all the benefits that it brings, also brings some bad things. And it will happen in the future for sure. So I wanted to ask if you could simply, as if you were doing some pitch and we are investors here, or doing the same thing, just a panel discussion. But to tell us, what would be the worst possible application of AI, chat, GPT, whatever comes to your mind? So you're working for some government agency or spy agency, space agency, whatever.
Oh, I like where this is going.
What would be the
Worst possible application for, I don't know, humankind or for your neighbor? Or
The most black hat scenario you could think of.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm really biased towards the book. I don't know if you guys heard about Nick Bostrom. He has a book called Superintelligence. We are definitely far from that case scenario, but basically in the book he mentions that there was an AI where it was a simple objective, basically transform materials to paper clips. It's called paperclip problem, basically. That's how you can Google it, just that part of the book, so you don't have to read the whole. But it's a really good book. And basically it starts by saying, okay, let's transform everything in the factory to paper clips, and from that point on scaled and just restructure the whole factory to paper clips, and then restructure the whole environment, and basically the whole planet became a one huge paperclip. Obviously that's exaggerated, but the worst case scenario are not the AI, but the humans, because like for every single machine learning algorithm, there is an optimization function, which basically says, hey, what I'm going to do. Like, that's a just simple optimization problem. And if we are not careful, like, and we put an AI to interact with the real world, I would say that having that said, basically the optimization function poorly defined is the worst case that can happen to humanity. How far it can go? Well, it can go to really huge problems. Right now, if you ask me, like, it's not ChatGPT, but Tesla cars or any self-driving cars, because they are really interacting with the real world. And it can go really to some crazy degrees bad. And there are a lot of problems that can go, like making decision in the case, like, are we going to prevent from the driver to some other, it's a really famous MIT problem. But I would say that's the biggest case. Like, if we are just relying on ChatGPT for now, it can go to, for example, replicating some speeches and saying that some, for example, president said something, and then it can escalate really fast to a smaller, like, sentence. Yeah.
There's a huge problem with fake videos.
Oh yeah. Deepfakes,
which is connected, deep fakes, and actually because you can make a fake complete video. This problem with it can spiral out things to happen, somebody thinking it's true, and then actions start to roll one after the other. And then it's too late to go back and say, no, that didn't happen, because other things which are real start to happen.
Yeah, but everything basically circled back to humans. Like, if you are reading something, like, for example, I don't know if you saw Pope generated, like, I thought it was real, but basically, like, that was a stupid image, like a Pope in a coat, like, you can Google it, and everybody thought it was a real thing, but it was generated. And like, it was no decision should be made on that image, but if you scale that to some like crazy stuff, it can go really fast, but it's a human in the center.
And one of the things already happening is that AI is being used to generate much more efficient phishing emails.
Yeah.
And basically that's a huge problem now, because they're much more effective than they used to be and much harder to detect, et cetera, et cetera. So, and this is just one small, tiny example.
And you talk about just now about the fake video. There was one story that I read a few days ago where, you know, one guy who pretended to be a, you know, Vin Diesel and steal $5,000 from a guy. To say that, you know, I like
there's
you.
a threat, there's an
that.
opportunity.
Right. So yeah, but it's distractive, I would say.
Actor per hire.
Yeah.
I would, why I'm worried about ChatGPT is about education. And imagine if you would allow, like, to all children in school to have ChatGPT as an assistant in their work. I think that would totally collapse education system, because kids would start thinking about the problems. They would start developing their logic and creativity and ideas. And I think in long term this would fully affect basically whole nation if you don't allow your children to basically reason and think.
That's some really black hat thing. Didn't start like that, sound like that when you started, but like when we think about it, yeah.
Yeah, previously it was just the, you know, Google developers, but now it's the ChatGPT developers.
Yeah. So thank you for an interesting question. I think that AI couldn't generate it, definitely. We have time for one more question. Anybody? Okay, first row.
My question will be probably addition to the previous one, and especially to the last answer, because you raised the point that when people will be able to use ChatGPT more, and when, for example, like edge case, when children will be using ChatGPT for solving school tasks, they might kind of degrade and become less able to solve tasks by themselves. But isn't it true that in modern society, and because of like technology growth, it is not like really needed to solve tasks yourself? It is more important to know tools that you need, that you can use. Because of course, like if you get to moon without internet, you need to do everything yourself. But it is like a scientific scenario. Maybe it is more important to focus education exactly on using tools, not in recreating them.
Yeah, I mean, this is always a discussion about to what point should we use tools and to what point should we learn it by ourselves. I'm not sure. I mean, in the long term, if you don't develop skills to learn, to reason, to have some logic, I think in the long term this could affect people that are fully dependent on these tools. And also we can ask a question: who will then develop new tools? If these people are only limited to the tools that already existed, so I'm not certain, but I think that for each person, it is important to like develop its full potential in ideas, in logic, and that will then he can learn or they can learn like they can use tools that exist and develop new tools. But if you use from the beginning only tools that exist, I'm not sure how this will affect later, like whether you will know to develop new tools.
And if I may add to this, this is like a much deeper, this
Yeah.
is more of a evolution question, because like there's a problem with also like using screens a lot. So like already, and the problem is that humans have been working the same way for like thousands of years, and now we have this huge behavioral change which is happening in the last 20 years or something with the technology, and like even this, the way we think, the way we interact, like kids not spending that much time outside, like that's already giving a lot of negative effects. Like kids nowadays, I don't know the percentages, but I read somewhere like their hands are not developing how they should because they're not interacting with the environment when they're really little. And like, okay, they maybe are better with technology, but like, will this change in the way how we're structured to work in such a fast pace be better or worse than it used to be? That's a philosophical question probably. I'm assuming it will be worse, because then just as if you're growing the company too fast, if you go too fast, it will collapse because it cannot move the pace that is needed. But
Yeah, exactly. And then, one takeaway for you guys, just to try, what will be the, the biggest sickness in 5 years with AI. You will be surprised to see the results on, ChatGPT. I did it few days ago, and that's basically, it will going to be anxiety disorders in the kids could happen, right? If they are really dependent on that. And there are other things, for example, augmented reality things, kids start assuming the things that are basically not there with AI, because they have been very used to play through the AI with them, and then they feel like, they exist, right? So there's a lot of disorders that can happen with AI in the next 5 years. There's a lot of sickness that comes.
And to end up on a positive note, what gets you excited the most about
I just
AI?
want to add, this is all these scenarios are just if you don't control yourself and if you understand the aspects of using AI, if you know how to use that properly, and I think you're fine. But if you exaggerate in something and you don't have limits, probably something bad will happen.
What excites you?
Yeah, so there's a lot of excitement, I think, I can see with AI. There's a lot of new things that you can actually, it opens up a lot of, possibilities for you to actually explore. And I think it will be used as a very, productivity tool. And that's really excite me. I think you can have better, forecasting, recommendation engines, and as well as, to know the person's behavior as well. So I'm really excited to try that and, have more, be as a contributor in the AI as well, because I feel like if you use it in a positive manner, definitely it's a game changing in a few years.
So even better personalized ads for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially, these car assistants, right? Tesla has been here for a while, and you see that, how good it is, right? And there are accidents happened almost every year, but still, it's a game-changing thing, right? And one thing which I always say that, when the machines will be allowed to drive fully, then humans will not be allowed to drive, because then there will be only machines, because then there will be no accidents, basically.
I do agree with that.
Thank you.
So yeah, about AI, well, everything is really interesting right now, what's happening, but for me, the humans are exciting, like how they interact and how they change the behavior of everybody of us, like me personally and everybody, how we adapt, how we leverage every opportunity. That's something that's really exciting. We are living currently in really exciting times, and that's what basically gets me up. Yeah.
Thank you all for participating. Thank you for the questions. As you heard, we live in a really exciting time of AI. We have only one more lecture, final closing keynote left, and my question is, would you guys like to do it without the break, maybe? Because we're running a little bit behind schedule, a few 15 minutes, or you guys would like to have a break and then we come back in 10 minutes and continue where we left off. Would it be too much to do it right away?
Raise
Yeah,
your hands
I see
if you
people
want to
nodding.
break.
Okay, we have a 10-minute break and then we continue.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Give it up for panelists.